smoking all this weed. Make these nightmares go away. Make these nightmares go away. If I believed in praying, I would pray my heart away. Went through so much drama, just trying to outlive my pain. This last run it told me, had me feel like I'm going insane. I just wanna be okay, but this world is evil. Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Straight Outta BS Podcast. Thank you to my Patreon members, I really appreciate you. Just thank you so much. Donations are never expected, they're really appreciated, so thank you for that. And I want to do a moment of silence for the person still struggling with addiction or anything like that. So I'm going to do a moment of silence on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you for that. And without further ado, I want to go ahead and introduce my guest for the day. Go ahead and introduce yourself and where you went and what years.
Okay, so hi, I'm Sarah Couture, and I went to Spring Creek Lodge Academy in Montana, Thompson Falls, and this was back in 2005. I was there for 11 and a half months, and I got out at 2006, weeks after I turned 18, so.
Okay. And what walk us through what was going on before you got sent there? Do you know why you got sent there? Did your parents tell you you were going there? Walk us through that whole thing.
All right, so it was a complete surprise, caught me off guard completely. But I had ran away from home because my parents were kind of controlling, and I was kind of a delinquent. So basically, I was selling drugs at the time and partying a lot. I worked at McDonald's at the time, so the only way they could track me down to find me, because they knew where I was living in like my Ford Ranger, my first vehicle that I had in the. I'd sleep in the back with the canopy, out on this logging road in the mountains in Cumberland with my boyfriend. So I was just like living on the run basically. And but yeah, so I was about to clock in when they caught me, and that was how they were able. But I had no idea that was going to happen. My parents hadn't talked about sending me away or anything like that prior to, so I was totally caught off guard.
Okay, so you were just sneaking out? Is that essentially what you were doing?
No,
To get sent there, like what was that like the final straw for you getting sent there, or was it?
Well, and I dropped out of school too, high school. That was the final straw because I don't know, they were getting phone calls about like Becca Bill. I don't really know how that works, but you're supposed to have your kids in school, so they were going to get in trouble for me not going to school.
Like a truancy thing?
Yeah, like truancy, and then
yeah.
drug and alcohol use and promiscuity and defiant behavior and rebelliousness, etc. Basically.
Okay. Do you feel like you were just being a regular teenager, or do you feel like you actually deserved somewhat to be sent there?
Certainly don't think anyone deserves to be sent there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't mean that, but like, can you understand? Could you understand like more why your parents sent you there?
I get we're concerned for sure. Like I was definitely a troubled teen. I was definitely a little bit more than your average teenager, like
okay,
behavior-wise, I do think I was on the like extreme or normal side of the spectrum, but I wasn't like totally some deviant kid, but a little extra from regular, I guess. Does that make sense?
Okay. Then walk us through did you get transported? Did your parents bring you up there? Walk us through that.
Yeah, so I got transported. That sucked. It was really traumatizing for me because let's see. So the way it happened was I was about to clock in at McDonald's at my job, and I was all ready to go, like in my red shirt and my visor and everything, black pants and all that. So I was about to go in and clock in and start my job.
Yeah.
So, but at the door, there's two transporter people. I think it was a man and woman. I know there was one guy that flashed me a badge. I'm assuming it was a fake badge, but it might have been a real badge. But I think it's just for like looks or whatever. But they stopped me at the door when I was about to go inside, and they were like, "Are you Sarah Couture?" And I was like, "Yeah," like all like caught off guard. And they're like, we could do this the easy way or the hard way, of course. And they flashed me their handcuffs too, like kind of like to be intimidating, I guess. And so I don't remember if they cuffed me or not, but anyway, so they led me to the white van, and inside the van, my mom was in it already crying, and my aunt was in the back seat crying. And so I got in, and then they dropped them off. And then we were driving to, well, I didn't know where we were going at all. They lied to me and said that we were going to a rehab that was only going to be like 2 weeks long. And I was already like, oh, 2 weeks, I got things to do. And so I was upset about that. Little did I know it was actually going to be a full year almost. And so, yeah, it was a 9-hour. And so, I'm getting car sick. I'm throwing up on myself, like from stress and also from coming down from drugs, probably, and or being hungover or something. But yeah, so I didn't know where the heck we were going at all. And we just kept going deeper and deeper into the woods. We were going to Montana. I didn't even know that at the time, but we were going way up Blue Slide Road, which is the long driveway. Up there, it was super dark when I got there, like middle of the night. But yeah, so that was a terrible experience.
Okay, so wait, you got transported, but your mom was there?
Just for the initial part to pick me up, so so I knew it wasn't like real kidnappers or something. Like my mom,
Okay.
I actually assumed that my mom called like the police on me, and so it was probably like, they're taking me to juvie or something, but.
Okay. Oh, so you thought you might have had did you think you might have had like warrants or something, or just think your mom might have called the cops on you just finally?
I know my mom found out that I was selling drugs and stuff, so I figured it had something to do with that.
Okay. Okay. So when you got there, what do you remember about when you got there? Did they give you a real manual? Lilith, out. Did they give you a rule manual? Did they buddy you up with anybody to show you the ropes? Walk us through like what you remember about when you first got there.
Okay, so when I first, one more thing about the trip too. We stopped at Arby's, I think, on the way there for my last meal, basically. But
Okay.
I wish I regretted so much not trying to run at that point when we stopped, because I was thinking we were going to be there 2 weeks because they lied about it. But if I would have known I would have been there so long, I mean, I know a lot of people have been there a lot longer, but a year is a long. So I just regretted so much not running then at that point, and I didn't finish my Arby's. I regretted not finishing my Arby's because of their nasty food there. But anyway, so after we got there, they took me to Staff Central, took all my items, everything that I had on me, gave me some clothes that, the uniforms and some ugly granny panties my mom bought for me and stuff. And so we're searching through everything. We had to do the whole strip down, naked and jump towel, squat, spread your butt cheeks, cough, cavity search type thing. That was really off-putting. And the ladies that were doing the intake, I won't say their names, but they were kind of rough around the edges, I'd say, and kind of intimidating and not very pleasant to be talking to. And that was really intimidating. So I was just like, oh, this is horrible. And I'm in for it, But yeah, I didn't know just how bad it was going to be. But so they had me go bunk, because it was the middle of the night. So I climbed up to the top of the bunk, and I was just crying myself to sleep because, I was just like, where am I? Like, what? I was so disoriented,
Yeah.
and pissed off at my mom for doing that instead of me. But yeah, I was like, it hadn't sank in just yet of how horrible it would be, because I'm still thinking, oh, I'll be here 2 weeks. But I don't know if they gave me a rule book or not. I don't remember that, and I know they gave me a buddy probably that very next day, I think. Don't remember who it was, honestly, but.
Okay. Can you remember on average how many people were there, girls, and how many boys? If you had to make an estimation when you got there and then when you left, how many people were there?
Well, I know in my cabin, and because I was in Serenity family, I think there's about 20 girls in our little quadrant of the cabins. I don't know. I'm really bad at counting numbers of people, like guesstimating, but I'd say there's like 500 kids maybe, and
like total, like on the facility.
Probably, but my guesstimations are not very accurate.
Okay.
There's a lot of kids.
I'm just very curious. I try and get everybody to make an estimation so we can try and get a ballpark.
It was about 50-50 to guys, but I could be wrong.
What was that?
I think it was about the ratio of boys to girls or males to females was about the same.
Okay. Okay. How long after you got there did it take you for you to realize that this place is crazy?
Not very long. I can't say exactly how long, but yeah. So I just remember the next day going to breakfast. Like we woke up super early. They scream meds. Everyone gets in line real quick, does a head count, and then they have people go up and take their medication one by one, and then they look in your mouth to make sure you didn't cheek your meds. You're actually taking it. Super early. I was all tired. Yeah, and breakfast we went to the Hungry Horse, and I remember the first meal I had there was biscuits and gravy, right? And
Oh,
I'd never
God.
really had biscuits and
I
gravy
hate
before.
biscuits. I hated biscuits and gravy.
I actually grew to like it, but I threw it up and thought it was so vile the first day. I barfed it up in the trash can.
Did they give you a self-infliction for that? Did they give you a cat 4 for that? For
I don't
throwing
think
up?
surprisingly, no, I don't think so. But
Yeah.
that's actually kind of a shock. But maybe just because it was my first day.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. But I actually grew to like those biscuits and gravy later on. But at first, for a long time, the food is just non-interesting. But then eventually, it's like that's all you got to look forward to, really. Pat down after you go. When we would leave the cafeteria, the Hungry Horse, they would always do like a pat down. It's very thorough. Like they'd credit card you down your boobs, like down the sides, make sure you didn't have any like oranges or snacks or anything packed to, because that would be run plans, because you'd be planning to run to pack food with you. So they always like searched us real good after we left.
Yep. So you were going over a story that you were realizing how crazy it was, I think, and then I interrupted you, and I apologize for that. But do you remember what you were saying before I interrupted?
I don't think I had anything particularly in mind. I know it was Spirit Month really shortly after I got there, which was in the summer. So this is basically where, we had different teams and different t-shirt colors, right? And we would do somewhat fun activities like relay race type stuff. And I remember they had me up on this blow up thingy, and I was battling this girl with a big stick, trying to knock her off of her podium. And I think I knocked her off. Yeah, I won, but like, it was just weird. And then they did this thing where it was kind of like an assembly. We're all gathered around. They're talking up at the front. And I remember they were shaving this kid's head, like a boy down front. He was like, I think he was tied down to the chair, but maybe he was just being made to stay there. I don't remember that good, but I just remember he didn't want his haircut at all. But it was like for entertainment to shave his head. I didn't find it very entertaining. I thought it was kind of mean. But yeah, Spirit Month, we'd sing songs in line as we marched, like having to do with our team. It was just weird. I think they were taking pictures and stuff to send home to look like we're having fun and having a good old time. But Spirit Month was only 1 month. And so that was not a very realistic snapshot of what it was going to be like, because that was like moderately fun a little bit. But I mean, it wasn't a blast or nothing. But
How long after there did they put you through your first seminar?
orientation, I think it took me, I want to say it was either 1 or 3 months. It was no longer than 3 months, but it was definitely at least a month, because I know I wanted to get.
So you were there 3 months before you went through orientation?
Between 1 to 3.
Okay, so you can't remember exactly.
I remember, So I wanted to get done so I could complete the program and get out of there. So, this whole waiting for seminars thing was irritating to me. Because when I first got there, I mean, the whole time I didn't really rebel at all, because I was like, this is futile. If I thought about running quite a few times, but I was too chicken to do it because bears.
Yeah.
But yeah. Also, I heard rumors that like the person that got farthest away with running, like I heard that they stole a staff's car and got to Spokane, but then they tracked him down with like a bounty hunter or something. I don't know if it's totally made up or not, but so I was just like, damn. And I knew that they would say that if you did run, they would send the junior staff boys out to catch you, tackle you down, and whoever caught you would get a steak dinner. And I was like, oh man, so I fantasized about it a lot. I didn't ever try.
Okay.
But I was pretty defiant since the beginning when I got there, and I felt bad about that later. Like I felt really ashamed that I never, tried to rise up against them or, rebel or anything like that. I just conformed really. But yeah, so I worked my program, I guess you could call it. Didn't want to, but you have to.
Did you ever get sent to worksheets or intervention?
I didn't ever go to intervention myself, although I would witness other people like going there, like this one girl, and I was always just like in admiration of her, like, oh yeah, you badass, go, because I was like, I wish I was like assertive or rebellious enough to pull what she was pulling, but I also saw what would happen to her. She'd be in there for days and days and
Yeah.
get dog piled on, stuff like that. So, I did go to worksheets once. I don't remember why I got a cat 4. I got a cat 4 for something, and that was super boring. That was, you sit in a little cubicle all day long. You're bored as hell. And like they have these tapes playing. I don't know what they're playing. I don't even remember, but I remember like one of the pervy male staff people there would just make us do all this, well, fitness, they call it, but really it's excessive exercise and stress positions, right? But
Yeah.
having to do a bunch of burpees, wall sits for a long time, 6 inches, doing that thing where it hurts your stomach real bad on the ground. Like we did a lot of that in worksheets and a lot of just writing shit. Don't even remember what, but it was just really unpleasant.
Okay.
And of course, they do a bunch too if you didn't, like if you moved your body. So
Yeah. Did you get to work kitchen? Did you enjoy working kitchen?
well, I mean, I remember being woken up super early. Like I want to say it was probably 3 a.m. or something like that.
Yeah.
Like way before. I remember it was a really long day, probably past what you're supposed to do as under 18-year-old,
Yeah.
But and I remember we got to eat some food behind the scenes, and that was cool. But and I Miss Glory was really nice. I know her, the kitchen staff lady.
Yeah.
She was
She's a
sweet.
sweetheart. She's a
Yeah.
sweetheart.
But there was other people in there, be it junior staff or other staff that were not very nice. And I just remember how much they would threaten us. Like if you talk to the boys, you pass notes, because that was an opportunity, when you're serving the trays, to possibly pass a note to a boy or make eyes at them or, flirt, wink at them, So,
Yeah.
so I was always really afraid because of course, we would get a category 2 if we looked at the boys, but I was kind of boy crazy, so I'd always look at them in secret. But yeah, I never passed notes or anything like that. I was too afraid. I was too afraid to get a cat 4 and drop it because I didn't want to drop because I didn't want to stay there any longer than I had to.
How long after you got there did they have you give you your first phone call with your parents?
I think it was 1 month, and yeah, the family rep was sitting right next to me, listening to all of it. And I remember that the another person told me that was in my family was like, "Don't say anything about the program being bad. Like they will hang up on you. You'll get in big trouble. You can't discuss anything negative about the program. You can't try to report that you're being abused or mistreated or nothing like that. If you do, you're just gonna get put in intervention." So that kind of sucked because it's like, you're sitting there talking to your parents, you miss them a lot, you're mad at them too because they sent you here and it sucks. Um, but you want to be able to say like your complaints and what's really going on and stuff, but you're not able to do so. I think I started to try, and then Miss Nika, my family rep, like hurried me off the phone and like gave me a lecture or something like that. And I definitely know that my parents were told that I was going to just manipulate and lie and make stuff up to try to get out of the program, try to get pulled, which of course I would want to do that. But yeah, I know that she definitely kind of trained my parents not to believe anything I said. Because one time I did have one visit from my family. We went and stayed for like 3 days at Trout Creek in this motel. And I did try to tell my
Was it an earned visit or was it like a spontaneous visit where your parents came up?
well, I
Like,
was a junior staff at that point, so I think
okay.
it was probably a visit.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah. Yeah.
I just remember I was trying to talk to them at the hotel. Um, that place is terrible. They're not nice to us, trying to say all these things that I thought were unfair or they're too strict or, too controlling. And yeah, my parents they weren't open to hearing it. They were like, "Oh, stop trying to manipulate us," and I was like, really? But yeah.
You're lucky they didn't tell the program she tried to manipulate us, because then they probably would have given you like a cat 4 or whatever the fuck,
Probably. It's for even bringing it up.
Yeah. Major manipulation, or at least a cat 3.
Probably.
Okay.
Oh, no, really sad too. One more thing about that trip too. the visit was, so I had a pet rat before I went to the program that I loved this rat. Okay. It was my little baby. And it was sick. It had cancer, right? Not before, but after I got sent to the program, my mom let me know that my rat was dying of cancer. So she brought my rat, which was really sweet. It was like dying. I was all gray and like, frail. And she still remembered me. She snuggled up to me. I was so happy. And then like after the trip was over and stuff, like I got a phone call from my mom later, a few weeks later, and my rat had passed away. And I was bawling my eyes out. And the family rep was just like, "Oh, suck it up. It's just a rat," right? And I was like, wow, what a bitch. Anyways, but then my mom, like, this is a nice thing to do, but she had like a pillowcase made with a picture of my rat on it and sent it to me. And so, which is sweet, but it's kind of like almost torturous because, I'd be going to bed at night with looking at my rat going, just so sad and depressed. But yeah, it was pretty bad.
Yeah, I was only asking if you earned the visit or if they just it was a spontaneous visit, because sometimes parents, just show up randomly and they're just to see their kid, and a lot of the time the staff at the program doesn't really like that. But I know that staff parents sometimes did do that. I actually had it happen a few times when I was there. So not trying to say like, oh, you didn't deserve to have a visit or anything. I was just
I think because I remember I was looking forward to it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I think I was present though when somebody else's parents came and did well, no, it couldn't have been too spontaneous because I know that before they came in, it was at the classroom, right?
Yeah.
And this girl that was also from where I'm from, close by to that, her parents came and walked through, and like they said, like if you guys say anything, you're going straight to
Yeah. They didn't have time to fucking prepare.
Okay, yeah, so that it was probably kind of spontaneous, yeah. But and I wanted to say something, because they're walking around going, "You guys are so lucky that you get to have this opportunity." I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, it was really hard not to say anything, but I'd be in trouble if I did. So
yeah. What did you think about the winters there?
Oh, it was so freaking cold. It was like cold to your bones. Like, oh, makes me cold just thinking about it.
Yeah, the snow is crazy out there too.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, I'm glad we had those green jackets, even though they're super ugly. But they're pretty thick at least. But I mean, you'd have to have layers on. It is a chilly place to be in winter.
Yeah, you had to have layers. What was that?
I said definitely. I think we could wear layers in that winter like that, but if you didn't,
you wear more layers. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was so cold, so cold. I think there was a time my hair was still wet, and I was afraid it was going to turn into icicle and snap off.
Yeah, it was really cold out there. How many seminars did you go through?
I know I did orientation, discovery, and focus. I might have done PC1 because I know my parents were at one, so it was probably that.
Okay, probably PC1.
Might have been focus though. Did your parents go to focus? Is that one that?
No, I mean your parents do go through seminars, but they don't see you until PC1.
Okay, so I must have
first time they see you is at PC1 usually, unless it was you had that visit, which is another reason I was asking, like, if it was a planned visit or not.
Yeah, I think I must have gone through PC1, but I know I definitely did.
Okay, because I think you get a visit after PC1.
Okay, yeah, that's probably what happened. It's kind of a blur. It's kind of I have like weird random memories about it, but the funny thing is like I actually didn't have memories about it before. Like a certain point, like I kind of blanked it out, like partial amnesia or something, because I could tell you that I got sent to a behavior school, bad girl school, behavior modification program, but I actually didn't really have any pictures or emotions associated to recall, I guess, for like a long time after the program. Like I blocked it out. But when I did have memories come back of that, it was really weird because I was reading the book Help at Any Cost by Maya Salvitz, How the Troubled-Teen Industry Cons Parents and Hurts Kids, which is a great book, by the way. I was reading the chapter about W.W.A.S.P programs, right? And I straight up had like a really scary flashback. Like I thought I was there again, and I was like re-experiencing it or something. Like I was afraid. I was terrified, and I was like, I woke I was living at my parents' house at the time, and I ran up to my mom's room, like, "Mommy, I'm scared." She was like, "What is going on?" She didn't understand what was happening. I had an emergency therapy appointment that day, but yeah, it was really weird. It was scary. Like, and then all these memories keep coming back in even after that about things that I had forgotten about for a long time, you know? Like your podcast is really helpful too, because people talk about stuff and it jogs my memory, and I'm like, oh yeah, huh? And I'll remember stuff, like details about it.
Yeah,
But
definitely helps. Do you remember your I am statement and
yeah,
your
I do.
purpose do you remember your purpose statement as well
I
from
don't remember my
Focus?
purpose statement, but I do remember my I am statement. I am a brave, ambitious, pretty, and free young woman, which is kind of
Okay.
ironic because was I brave there? No. You know, I was like compliant and just conforming. Ambitious? How could you be ambitious in a program? You can't do anything of free will. So, you know, pretty, well, okay, we weren't allowed to pluck our eyebrows, shave, had hairy legs. Let's see, caterpillars, uh, weren't allowed to straighten our hair or anything until junior staff. So pretty, I don't know about, let's see, free, definitely not, obviously, in captivity. So, I mean, it was just
Do
kind
you,
of like a weird thing that they had us do.
exactly. What about now? Do you feel like those qualities are actually like describe you? Or do you
Hmm.
feel like just like in the moment you kind of just pick some words? Because I know a lot of people did that. I know a lot of
Right.
people did that.
I know I picked my words carefully because I wanted to be those things. But I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
because
yeah.
wasn't at the time. I think I try to be those things today.
Okay.
I don't know. Let me think about this. About halfway there, I'd say.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then, that's good. I always am curious about the I am statement. What
Yeah.
did you think about or what was your stretch? What was your stretch and focus? Do you remember what your stretch was?
But the thing you had to do in front of everyone that was embarrassing.
Yeah, yeah. Get out of your
Yeah.
comfort zone, that shit.
Yeah. Okay. So I had to sing into a mirror in front of a mirror to myself. I Will Always Love You by Whitney Houston.
Okay.
And I didn't
Okay.
know any of the words, dude. Like I knew like the main like parts, but I didn't know much of the words. So I was totally off key singing. I looked like a total dork, I'm sure, making a fool of myself, making like I know the song when I really don't, like goofing up all the words. It was pretty freaking embarrassing and horrible. I did not like it, did not enjoy it. I thought it was super dumb. Uh, it definitely made me uncomfortable. I'll say that.
Did you make it through all of the seminars the first time, or did you choose out of some seminars?
I did. I made through them the first time. Um, yeah, they were weird. They were like, it's like you wanted to go to them because you wanted to get it done and just work the program and get out. But like at the same time, they weren't anything to look forward to. They were super unpleasant to me and most people, I think.
Definitely. What did you think about the lifeboat process in Focus?
Oh, right. I was trying to remember if I picked myself to live or die or somebody else. I think I picked myself to live. I
So did
think.
I. If you
Yeah.
picked yourself to live, then they would have what they did for those people. And I remember this very vividly because I picked myself. They gave you a microphone and then they tell you, okay, since you think you deserve to live and everybody else deserves to die, or you're one of these people that deserves to live, tell us why you deserve to live. And then they're like, you got 3 minutes. And then if you don't talk for the whole 3 minutes, they're like, oh, well, you only, because I only lasted like 15 seconds, and then I broke down, and they're like, oh, you thought you were so good that you were so awesome that you could be saved or something like that. And they're like, you couldn't even stand for 15 seconds. You had 3 minutes. What was that? And
Right.
it's yeah.
I'm not sure 100% if I picked myself or somebody else. I might have picked somebody else because I don't remember what they said afterward too much.
Or
I just
maybe it
remember,
was whoever got the most win or live votes had to do that or something like that. But it was something
right?
like that.
Yeah, I just remember having to look at people and go, "You die, you die, you die, you die." Like, how
Yeah.
is that? What is that?
How is that? How is that healthy? How is that like?
It's not.
Yeah.
I
What? Do you,
why would they have us do that? Like, what's the point of that? I don't.
no, it's just breaking. It's just part of breaking us down and the brainwashing. But
Yeah, well,
I
trying to
think
make
it's
people feel
really,
some kind of like you're worthless kind of thing.
I think it's a really irresponsible process though, because you're not really doing much good for the person.
No,
You're
yeah,
literally,
ridiculous. Yeah, I
yeah.
do remember about the seminars. Can I tell you a story real quick? This is the most traumatic part for me. Because because, you know, they use a lot of humiliation and putting you on blast and embarrassing you in front of people, right? All these people. So like the worst part for me, okay, so rewind a little bit. So before that, so there was another girl, because the whole time I was like, as soon as I turn 18, I'm out of here, right? Because I
Yeah.
had a year. I got there when I was 17 plus 1 month. So you know, another girl from Washington, she was going to turn 18 a month before me. So on the 30 minutes a day, we were allowed to speak to each other um, in the cabin with our families and stuff, if they were the proper level, that is.
Yeah.
Like her kind of talked about like what we would do if we had to take our exit plan, right? Your exit plan basically consists of you getting $50 in your pocket and then a bus ticket to the nearest homeless shelter, and then you're abandoned from your family and you have to just live your life as an adult, like homeless on the streets, right? So, but we were told that we would have to do that if we didn't complete the program. Like our family reps were saying, like, you have to, or you're going to have to take your exit plan. I was ready to take it though. I mean, I would have definitely taken it. But, so with that in mind, you know, we were kind of talking about like, how are we going to get back to Washington? And she was saying like, I'll wait for you, we'll go back together or something, So, she had a friend back at home that was a stripper, right? And so she made all this money. So we were like, she was like, hey, I know what we could do. We could just go be strippers in Missoula for a little while, just until we get enough money to get a Greyhound bus and go back. I'm like, okay, yeah. So that was our plan, right? I don't know if like someone overheard that and narked on us like they always do, or if maybe they read my journal or heard then, because they would do that as well.
Yeah.
But anyway, it came up at the seminar. So the facilitator guy, this big bald-headed dork, like he like music stops. He's got his microphone. He's walking up all slow and dramatic. You want to be a stripper, and gets all up in my face like that. And I'm just like, oh shit, And then my dad's kind of a dick. So he looks at me, he's like, you can never be a stripper, which hurt my feelings. But it was kind of good though, because then the facilitator guy turns to him and just rips him a new one, like chews him out. So the wrath got redirected to my dad instead of me, which was good. But
Did this happen? Did that happen during PC1?
I think that was either Discovery or Focus.
Wait,
No,
your dad was there?
Yeah, that was it must have been PC1 then, I guess.
It
Yeah.
had to have been PC1 because that was the time. That was like the first time you would have seen your parents. That's crazy. At least your dad stuck up for you,
No, he didn't stick up for me.
You said he raped him a new one. What are you talking about?
No, the facilitator guy chewed him out.
Okay. I mixed that up. Sorry. I thought it was.
No, yeah, no, he was like, you like implying that I'm too gross and ugly to be a stripper. No one would want to see that.
Okay, so you were saying he ripped you a new one?
No, the facilitator ripped my dad a new one for saying that to me.
Oh, your dad said that to you. Okay. Now I get it. That's fucked up. Okay. That makes more sense. No,
I probably told the story weirdly, but no, that was dramatic though, because you're being put on blast. All eyes are on you about something that's like a no-no, like stripper. Whoa, it's surrounded by Mormons. They're not going to want you to talk about anything like that. So
yeah.
In the doghouse, I guess.
So after you were 18, did you stay or did you take it? What happened after you were 18?
So when I turned 18, I was exit plan, but my parents told me that if I finished the high school courses we had there, which I was real close to being done, then they'd come and get me and take me home. So I did stay 2 weeks after just to wrap up my schooling and stuff, which is funny because, I mean, as you probably know, I'm sure our high school diplomas are fake.
Yeah, none of the credits transferred, did they?
Well, I was lucky because when I went to college, community college, I mean, I gave them my fake diploma, right?
Okay.
And they didn't. They must not have like checked into it, or they must have took it at face value because I didn't have any problems getting in. But I've heard other people have had issues trying to go to college and stuff with that because it's not a real legit diploma.
Well, they've had issues with the credits transferring. So the fact that you actually had a physical diploma. Probably that's the only reason that you were able to do that, because you had a physical diploma. Is that correct? So you had a physical diploma, right?
I had a fake physical diploma, yeah.
Yeah. But fake or not, but you had a physical diploma, so you had something to physically show them to be like, right. I have this. Instead of having to transfer credits, you know what I mean?
I see. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I actually held on to that. It had a little book and everything. My fake one.
Because I think where people get messed up is that when they try and transfer credits from a school that is no longer even open also. It's
Right.
like it's not even viable. So a lot of people weren't able to get.
And that had that happen, that would be terrible.
Yeah. So you had to stay there essentially till you finished school, and then did they come and get you after that?
They did. I had a graduation ceremony there, had a cap and gown and all that, took pictures. And then I remember we had to do like some presentation thing where we went up and we picked out a song to play. I picked some Eddie Money song, I don't know. And like my pictures turned out okay, I guess, but had super bad roots, but the cap hit it. Yeah, I was just happy to go home. I just got out of there. Like I couldn't get done. My last class was algebra, and out of everything that we did was just out of a textbook anyway, which I actually kind of liked that because it was like at your own pace. And if it was hard, you could go up. I did like the one of the staffs that I did like was the teacher. I think his name was Mr. K. He was super nice. And like even though they didn't really do much teaching, like if you needed help, like you could come up to them, he'd help explain what you're stuck on.
Yeah.
But I guess I just liked the self-pace of it, but I didn't like the way we did the test was weird, like in the little chairs on the side, 80% or above. Like, I don't know. I kind of like interaction too, as far as learning, but I did like that it wasn't, but in high school, I hated classes because like the teacher would go off in these tangents about their own personal life and bore the crap out of me. And like, you're either left behind or they're going too slow for you. Like, there's not very individualized the pace. So I guess I did like the individual pace of it, but that's it. I mean,
Yeah.
definitely didn't like not having any social time or being able to choose your classes really. You couldn't do any fun electives like ceramics or art or anything like that. But
Yeah. What do you think the hardest part about being there was for you, and how did you deal with it?
I would say not being able to talk to friends back home or like boyfriends or anything like that, like not being able to talk to anybody but your parents, like via letter, or which is screened and they read it first, so you can't say what you really want to say, or being monitored, like not being able to have free communication with people that you care about back home. It's definitely a big one. Also, the being on silence all freaking day, like that's terrible. I don't think people really can imagine that they haven't been to a program because, you could be quiet for like an hour or two, 6 hours, even like half a day. But think about that all day, 24/7, except for, I guess it would be 23 and a half, 7. But
Yeah.
every day, like no breaks, it's like, I don't think people really get that. Like I'm concerned about what it does to your brain. Like when you're developing, as a teenager, you're still growing. It's like, if you're not talking at all that long, what does that do?
Yeah. Definitely nothing good.
Right.
Um let's see. What did you have going on in your life before you got sent to the program that was interrupted or that you didn't get to accomplish because you got sent to the program?
Right. Well, it kind of broke me and the boyfriend up, obviously, because I was dating somebody. And that person was like 4 years older than me. I really liked him and stuff, but I don't know. It probably wasn't the most healthiest relationship, but it wasn't the worst. Um, but yeah, we got split up, obviously. And when he got back, I think he wanted to get back together, but at that point, I'd kind of been brainwashed a bit to think like, oh, he's not working, he's not good. Like, they kind of turned me against him a little bit. I think we did get back together eventually for a hot minute, but my best friend, the saddest thing about that was not being able to talk to my best friend. But when I came back, she had like a gift bag for me, and we rekindled our friendship and everything, and it was great. But then she ended up passing away in a car accident, like a year or two later, which was terrible. It was like the worst thing. Also, I was devastated about my rat dying, like I said. So
Yeah.
I was pretty resentful of my parents for sending me and me missing out on being able to be with my little pet. So those things I would say.
Yeah. If you could go back in a time machine and not go through that program knowing what you know now, would you do it and why?
It's funny when you say, what kind of a question is that? Of course, I'd want to go back and not do it. It was terrible. But I know some people answer and say, no, I wouldn't want to change anything. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I wouldn't want to do it. I'd take the time machine back farther than that even. I'd be the frequent flyer of that time machine. But anyway.
What have you struggled with the most as a result of the program?
Most? Authority issues, self-esteem issues, identity issues, relationship issues, anxiety issues, depression issues, substance abuse issues, panic issues. Let's see, a lot of issues, I think. Yeah, a lot of things. PTSD for sure. See PTSD. You know, like, okay, here's a couple examples. So when I went to dental hygiene school after the program, I in hindsight, I can tell that I got triggered by the teachers because they seemed like they were out to like try to make you fail. Like they're really tough on you. Like it reminded me of Spring Creek and the staff there, right?
Yeah.
I put this together afterward, but I ended up dropping out because I got so depressed. I got like suicidally depressed. I was contemplating driving off the road on the way home, like just no good, right? In a really bad way mentally. And I think it's because it reminded me of the malice and hostility that some of the staff would enact against you. And so, yeah, because it was a similar feeling. And then let's see another example. Okay, so at this other, oh yes, another instance was when I worked at this one hair salon that was a nicer salon, you know, worked there for about 5 years. So my schedule at first was always, never had any weekends off, right? Because that's when you work as a hairdresser. So, but my boyfriend I had at the time, he would have weekends off and work Monday through Friday. So kind of stuck not having any of the same days off. So after 5 years, I thought to myself, okay, well, I'm going to ask my manager if I could get every other Saturday off, right? So that we could have at least a couple of days in the month to spend together. So thinking I'd had a little seniority by then. Well, she said no, because they no longer do the scheduling by seniority. They do it by your levels, because we had levels actually for what tier of a stylist you were. So there's like levels 1 through 9. And so she was basically essentially telling me that I had to be one of the top level earners, right? Before I could pick my schedule and go home to see my boyfriend. What does that remind you of, right?
Yeah.
And then that's when I started getting really depressed at that job. Not to mention I was having panic attacks all the time on Saturdays because it's so busy, chaotic. Probably reminded me of a trigger of being stuck in a cabin with a bunch of girls, right? Gave me severe panic attacks. I had to go home. It was really embarrassing. Like, probably had about 15 panic attacks at work. And then that was part of the reason I quit too, is like, yeah. And I mean, I didn't mind Sundays. Sundays were easy. There wasn't that many people working. It was kind of like we would be busy, but since it was just not as many bodies in the room, I didn't get panic attacks those days. But when it was super just chaotic and jam packed, that's when I just I'd start shaking, my heart would race and felt all wonky and stuff, and it was panic attacks are the worst. But yeah, so I quit that job like shortly after that conversation I had with my manager because it got triggered. But again, it was in hindsight I figured that out. I was like, oh, I can't go home until I reach the top level, you know. So yeah, it's definitely reenacted itself in certain ways. But anyway, any more questions?
What level did you get to when you were in the program?
I got to level 4, so that was like junior staff, and I mean, it was cool as far as like being able to wear makeup and straighten your hair and have more privileges and stuff. But I did not like having to give consequences to other people because I hated being the recipient of them when I was on the lower levels, right? Yeah. So I didn't like having to fake being okay with working in the program because I hated doing it. But I mean, it's nice not to be like punished as much and stuff. So, or have no rights or no freedom at all. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Did they load you up with medication, or did they take you off cold turkey when you got there? Or were you on prescriptions before you went to the program?
I think the only prescription I had before was birth control pill, and I think that they took me off of it.
Okay.
And I didn't receive any medications. Although, to be fair, I'm pretty certain I had mental health issues before I went to the program. It would have been undiagnosed, right? But it would have been more appropriate to be sent to a counselor or a mental health clinic, right? Because I probably had borderline personality, which I have been diagnosed with nowadays. But at that time, yeah, I was definitely showing symptoms that were pretty clear and obvious. But my parents, I think, wanted to see it as a behavioral problem, like you're being a bad troubled teen. You need some tough love to straighten you out type deal, some discipline, some structure, some rules. That's not what I needed at all. I got too much of that as it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think that mental health treatment would have been the way to go. But yeah, and so I actually was at the time jealous that other people got to go see a therapist and counselor individually, but knowing what I know now with these videos coming out, I'm like, ooh, I dodged a bullet there probably. But
Yeah.
but yeah, no, and we would do the groups, like the attack therapy groups were awful. They were not therapeutic in any way. They were terrible. Attack, like basically just putting you down, like going one by one around the family rep would sit there, go around the circle and like pick somebody to share, force you to share, but you're like, share now, and like you have to share something personal about like some of the trauma you had in the past. And then right after that, she'd just like rip you a new one, and like tell you what a piece of shit you were, and then make everyone else go around and do the same thing to you. So it was just terrible and torturous every day. Or I think it was Monday through Friday, we would do that group. And sometimes like on the weekends, I think we had a different group, or maybe as a junior staff. I don't remember. There was some other group that we did that was just as bullshit, really. It was just a different facilitator of the group. But yeah.
Okay. How's your relationship with your parents now? Have you ever talked to your parents or tried to explain to them how this program affected you? Could you ever forgive your parents? I've forgiven my parents, but I'll never forget what they did to me. Where are you at with your parents?
So at first, when I got out of the program, like I've like forgave them. Well, one thing my mom said that really kind of rubbed me the wrong way was she guilt tripped me. She was like, I'm still paying on the loan that I took out. I'm like, I never asked to go there, like what the,
Yeah.
like kind of resentful that she had to pay so much. I'm like, well, shit, definitely wasn't what I would have spent $40,000 on. But, I had a good relationship with my parents at first because I really tried hard to not piss them off and do what they said. But nowadays, like ever since like Breaking Code Silence and stuff, like at first my mom watched all the videos I'd show her and she apologized, gave me a hug, said I'm so sorry and all that, which was really great. And I appreciated that. My dad took a long time to even watch the videos or anything. Then he finally watched like the Paris Hilton documentary. And because up until even just like a couple years ago, my dad would tell me, oh, you would have been dead in a year had we not sent you to that program. I'm like, oh, hell no, that's not true at all. Actually, I was more likely to die there, actually. But yeah, neither one of them really these days want to talk much about it. I think they're embarrassed or ashamed, maybe, or like one time I got real mad because I was trying to show my mom this video I found that was like a documentary that I hadn't seen yet. I was trying to share it with her, and she was like, "Oh, you're just trying to punish me and hold me captive and torture me and make me watch this video." I'm like, really? Mom, I had to live this for a year. You are just watching a 20-minute video, So that
Yeah.
kind of, we don't have the best relationship, I'll say that. Especially me and my dad, we don't get along very good. But I love my parents a lot, and it's sad, but it is what it is. So
Okay. Um, do you think there's anything else you want people to know about your experience, or anything that you might tell a parent thinking about sending their kid to the program? And also, or let's start with that.
okay. So to tell a parent, I would say, don't even think about it. Hell no. Like, big mistake, don't do it. No, I'd say, well, first I'd probably ask them what was going on with their teenager. And then, well, based on what they said, I would try to give the best advice. But let's say they're saying something like, let's say it was me, right? Like what I was doing, like selling drugs, being delinquent, running away, all that. Say, maybe get them into a mental health clinic. Maybe take a look at your family dynamics and see if there's anything suboptimal going on there. Like take a good, honest, hard look at yourself and see, has my parenting been the greatest? Is there any abusive shit going on in my home? Because that's probably a big contributor. I know a lot of people don't like to look at themselves or be self-reflective, but and then let's see what else. If it was substances, I'd say, because I'm not a big fan of AA 12-step because to me it's kind of culty. And yeah, read the book The Sober Truth if you ever want to like break it down and get the statistics on that. I know it works for some people, but majority it doesn't, I think. So And it didn't work for me. In fact, I got triggered when I was there because I went there. I got a DUI after the program when I was 19, following the death of my friend. So, and I was court ordered to go, which they can't court order you to go to AA particularly, or any 12-step group. They can say sober support, which could be a lot of different things too.
Yeah.
So, you can find other things that work for you. Like for me, ACOA, I like that one. I like, they let me do yoga classes for some of mine, which was awesome because I like yoga. But basically, I forgot what I was talking about. What was the question?
You're talking about 12-step and AA.
Yeah, I'd say like a treatment of their choice, because whatever they're forced to do is not going to be helpful. It's whatever they think. Like they have to be in charge of their own recovery.
Yeah.
I like the behavioral health places that I would go to. Like, I don't know, some of my counselors were really helpful as far as like giving tips and strategies to remain sober. So, like one thing I remember that she said was, like, if you're going to take away any bad habit, you have to replace it with a positive one that gives you a similar benefit as what the drug would do. So, like, let's say you're drinking because you want to be more relaxed and calm, right? And you want to not have anxiety. It alleviates your, and so you'd want to do something like yoga, maybe that would relax you and make you feel calmer, or like, but you have to pick something that you enjoy that you're going to replace, like, fill that time slot with, because otherwise just having a void, like a blank free spot in your schedule, like you're most likely just going to fall back into the same habitual pattern that you normally do, because you're not intentionally like changing what you do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a good piece of advice. I think behavioral health places are pretty decent. And the ones I went to are mostly state, like free ones, Medicaid covered ones.
Okay. Is it your belief that these places should be all shut down, or that they should be, or even could be, fully regulated?
Absolutely. They should all be shut down.
Okay.
It would be really cool if they had like ones that were actually helpful, but with the way it is now, just abolish them.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. And if you ever want to do a part 2, just let me know and we will make it happen.
Thanks, Jordan.
Yeah, and if you guys have watched this far in the video, please like the video, share it, and make sure to subscribe to the channel, and we will see you on the next one. Bye, y'all.